history often gives us these events, right? On the surface, they seem pretty straightforward. But then you zoom in and, wow, you find all these layers, complexity, conflicting reasons why things happened. Today, we're doing one of our deep dives into the Crusades. Our mission really is to try and peel back some of those layers, uncover the real tapestry of what drove this period, and also look at the different shapes these expeditions took.
Exactly. We need to set the stage properly to see the Crusades not just as like one big religious impulse, but as this really complex event shaped by so many different things crossing over. It's definitely worth digging into.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. When most people think Crusades, they often jump to one main idea, yeah?
Yeah.
Religion, usually. But you're saying the sources show a much wider picture, a whole range of motivations beyond just that.
Oh, absolutely. It's striking just how many different goals people had. I mean, yes, the religious motive was huge. You can't deny that. The idea of liberating the Holy Land from Muslim control, the promise of having your sins forgiven, that definitely drove a lot of people. But if you connect that to the bigger context, our sources also point clearly to strong economic motives.
Economic, like what specifically?
Well, think about wealth. The pursuit of it, new trade opportunities opening up in the East, spices, silks, valuable goods,
Yeah.
and also the strategic side, expanding trade routes, especially for places like Venice or Genoa, those Italian cities. They were eager to, get a bigger piece of the Mediterranean trade.
Okay, so faith and fortune. That broadens it out considerably.
Yeah.
But beyond those big picture things, were there more personal reasons? Individual hopes driving people to go on crusade?
Yeah, you've really hit on the thing important there, definitely.
Yeah.
There's what you might call the mental motive, the desire for personal fame, for adventure. I mean, imagine living back then. An epic journey like this, it was a chance for renown, maybe land, or just escaping a pretty tough life at home.
Adventure and glory. Makes sense.
And then there's the political angle, too. A definite strategic push for influence in the East. Sometimes it was even a useful way for, say, the Pope or various kings to divert attention, to shift focus away from conflicts and rivalries back in Europe. A bit of a political tactic, really.
Wow. So it's this incredible mix. Piety, profit, personal ambition, politics.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes together. It paints a much, much richer picture than just a single explanation, doesn't it? More nuanced. And hey, if you're finding these kinds of insights interesting, maybe take a second to like this deep dive. You could subscribe for more knowledge shortcuts like this, and maybe even leave us a comment with your own thoughts. We'd love to hear them. Okay, so we've talked about the why, the motivations, but you mentioned these different drivers also shaped what the Crusades actually were. It wasn't just one big, long event, right?
That's a key question, yeah. What did these things actually look like? Our sources often call them holy wars, sure. And they specifically mention 9 crusades aimed at the Holy Land. That's the classic view. But, the term crusade itself got used much more broadly.
How so?
Well, you had crusades within Europe, like the Albigensian Crusade against groups considered heretics in France, or the Northern Crusades pushing Christianity into the Baltic regions. These had totally different goals than getting to Jerusalem. So it shows how crusade became this label for different kinds of campaigns, not just the ones heading east.
That's interesting. And what about the children's crusades? They always sound so dramatic, almost mythical. What do the sources tell us about those?
They do sound dramatic, don't they? And the reality seems a bit different from the popular image. While we often picture actual kids marching off, our sources suggest these groups were probably mainly lower classes instead of children.
Ah, okay. So less about age and more about social standing.
Exactly. It kind of reshapes how we see it, doesn't it? It connects back to those other motives we talked about, the socioeconomic pressures, maybe that desire for adventure or even just desperation. Suggests it might have been more a movement of marginalized people, the poor looking for salvation, or maybe just a better life rather than purely children.
So putting it all together from this deep dive,
Yeah.
the Crusades weren't simple. They were driven by this really complex interplay. Intense religious belief, yes, but also serious economic goals, personal dreams of fame or adventure, and some pretty clever political strategy. And all these different reasons led to different kinds of military campaigns, too.
Precisely. And it really encourages us, I think, to look at history critically, to use multiple lenses. We need to push past those easy, simple narratives. It raises a bigger question, doesn't it? How often do we maybe oversimplify the past? We overlook just how complex and sometimes how contradictory people's motivations really were in these huge historical moments.
That's definitely something to think about as you continue your own explorations of history. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope this gave you maybe a fresh angle on a really complex and fascinating period.